Свечи! Видите?
We've lost objective now.
Не спать! Тут немецкий штурмовик!
Battlefield at 4K. I've been tiptoeing around the idea of doing a 4K gaming video for a while now, but LG was kind enough to sponsor this video with their awesome and epically huge 43-inch 4K gaming monitor. This is the 43UD79 from LG, and I'll be getting into an unboxing of that in just a second. The purpose of making this video was to determine what kind of benefits we can expect from 4K. Now obviously 4K has higher resolution, you should be able to see more detail on screen, but what are the actual real world benefits when you put it into practice? Is it going to be worth upgrading to a 4K screen from a 1080p monitor or a 1440p monitor? And will some games benefit more than others? I tested this both on Battlefield 1 and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And before we get into the results, let's take a look at the actual hardware that we're using. The monitor showed up on my doorstep in this incredibly large box. I knew it was a 43-inch screen, but I think until you start putting it together, do you realize the actual magnitude, the real size of this thing in practice. 43 inches is large. I've never gamed on a 43-inch screen, at least not at my computer before. The size of it, in my opinion, is actually perfect for console gaming, and we'll talk a little bit more about its console applications later. But for PC gaming, it was pretty incredible to see this thing positioned on my desk, pretty much dwarfing my 1440p monitors next to it. And firing up Battlefield 1 for the first time on this monitor was a real treat. It was, to be honest, a bit overwhelming just taking in all the extra detail that I was missing before. There's a huge amount of texture variety and detail in this game, which can make it a little tricky to pinpoint your enemies occasionally, especially on snowy maps with the new DLC. There's a lot of white and black transition, a lot of speckling, and soldiers can get lost in that detail. I found it much easier to sort of pinpoint and recognize my enemies with the added pixel clarity. Not to mention my ability to recognize enemies at further ranges was greatly enhanced. It felt much more natural, like in real life. If you strain or focus your eyes in the distance, you can certainly make out objects much easier when you're focusing, and I could do the exact same thing with the 4K monitor, able to pinpoint enemies running across the horizon line far away. And because of these enhanced benefits, I decided to try out the game taking advantage of this added pixel clarity. And so what made sense to me was using bolt action rifles with iron sights. Battlefield 1 has a lot of weapons that don't have magnified optics but still have the same power and properties of rifles that are meant to be used at further ranges. So I decided why not pick some of the rifles that have iron sights or red dot sights. And this one here is a carbine variant of the SMLE. It just so happened I had a good Battlefield 1 assignment to complete using this weapon, so I started trying it out. And the added pixel clarity was really cool. I was able to pinpoint people at extreme distances and still nail my shots, which is nice because in order to get that kind of accuracy with a magnified rifle, you usually need to add a bit of scope glint. So I didn't have to use any scope glint to hit those really long range targets. So I definitely feel like it enhanced my ability to play with specific types of weapons. So I would certainly argue that gaming in 4K can give you an actual tactical advantage at further ranges using specific weapons in certain types of games. In close quarters, it's going to be harder to argue that 4K gives you a huge tactical advantage, but it's undeniable that it definitely makes the game world look a lot better. If you happen to have a PS4 Pro or you're planning on getting the Xbox One X to try out some of your games in 4K resolution, I can't think of a better monitor to give it a try on. The size of this monitor, because it is 43 inches, means that it's great for console gaming. You can sit a foot or two back from the monitor and still absorb all of the pixel detail. If you sit really close to it, like I'd say a foot and a half away, it might be a little overwhelming in that basically all of your peripheral vision is going to be soaked up by the sides of the screen. If you're going to be gaming on a PC or in a desktop desktop environment, you're going to want to give yourself as much space between you and the monitor on that table. So maybe situate the monitor towards the back of the table so that you're not right up against it. It really is that big of a screen. The monitor itself has a very thin bezel with a matte finish, a non-glare screen. It actually has built-in stereo speakers, which I was surprised because of how low profile the monitor is in general. And it comes with some of the gaming features that LG monitors have, like black stabilizer and a game mode. So there's a couple little benefits in there that might pique your interest if you are a hardcore gamer. Now, of course, I had to try the monitor out in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Surprisingly, I really didn't seem to lose any frame rate when upgrading to 4K resolution, which leads me to believe that the game is largely CPU bound, but that's a story for a different day. What I did find really nice about this monitor in PUBG was the added pixel resolution at further ranges. This game is all about trying to spot out people at extreme distances and noticing things far away, or people hiding in windows, or just slight movements. The monitor was incredibly helpful for that. Now, unfortunately, PUBG doesn't always let you pick your engagements, and I ended up getting into a lot more close quarter fights in which the 4K resolution wasn't necessarily benefiting me that much. But it was fun to try shooting at people at extreme long ranges with some iron sight weapons and test it out. Now, the 43UD79 has a refresh rate of 60 Hz, as all 4K monitors currently are limited to a 60 Hz refresh rate. And it could be argued that losing some of that refresh rate could hurt you in some close quarter firefights. Now, if you're used to playing on a 60 Hz monitor, it's not a big deal. If you're used to playing at 144 Hz, you might find this a little bit of a downgrade. It's sort of a trade-off right now in terms of whether you want the pixel resolution at further ranges or the higher refresh rate. That trade-off really only comes with hardcore PC gaming. When it comes to console gaming, this monitor is basically a pure upgrade. If you've got one of the consoles that can support 4K resolution, then I would say absolutely go for this screen. It's a beast. It could probably give you a huge advantage at further ranges, and especially when the Xbox One X launches and PUBG is available on that platform, the 4K resolution is going to be incredible. Now, there's one extra cool feature that LG included with this monitor that I absolutely had to test out. I hauled the screen over to our Brick Vault Studio. That's our other YouTube channel where we do a lot of Lego streaming and video editing. And we tried out the picture-in-picture feature. First, I set it up on our mobile streaming rig, and it worked awesomely there. We had so much extra resolution for monitoring stream and application stuff. This is a great work monitor, not just a gaming monitor. And then we tested out some of the picture-in-picture features in which you can plug in up to 4 different devices and have them split among the screen in different ways. You can either put a picture within the picture, or you can split your screen in half or into quadrants in which you can monitor different HDMI inputs, which is a really cool feature, and we're going to be using that in the studio. Anyway, I gotta say, overall, I'm very impressed with the image quality of this monitor. The feature set is definitely up there, and it's a great screen if you want something of this size with a 4K resolution. It excelled in gaming and work environments, and I highly recommend it if you're a console gamer. If you're a PC gamer, just be aware of the size of it and make sure you got enough desktop space to accommodate for it. If you want to know more about the specifics for this screen, I'll leave some links in the video description. I'd like to thank my sponsor, once again, LG, for making this video possible. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.